I was staring at the hospital ceiling when my daughter Marina walked in with a stack of legal papers. Her face was pale, hands trembling as she set them on the bedside table. "Dad, I need you to read this." I couldn't reach for them. My right arm was still in a sling, and the left one had an IV drip running into it. 3 weeks post-op from emergency cardiac bypass surgery, and I could barely sit up without assistance. "What is it?" She hesitated, her eyes welling up. "It's from Uncle Vincent. He's suing you for elder abuse and financial exploitation of Grandma Rose." The words didn't make sense at first. My mother had passed away 4 months ago at 89, peacefully in her sleep at the long-term care facility where she'd spent her final 2 years. Vincent was my younger brother by 7 years, and we'd always had a civil relationship. Distant, but civil. "What are you talking about?" Marina unfolded the first page, her voice cracking as she read. "He claims you manipulated Grandma Rose into changing her will 6 months before she died. He says you isolated her from the family, controlled her finances, and coerced her into leaving you the entire estate valued at $680,000. He's filed a lawsuit in Ontario Superior Court, and he's also reported you to the Ontario Provincial Police for financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult." I felt my heart rate spike. The monitor beside my bed started beeping faster. "Marina, I was in the hospital 6 months ago. You remember that, right? I had the angina episode in March. I was admitted for a week while they ran all those tests." "I remember, Dad. But he has evidence. Photos, bank statements, witness testimony." "What witnesses? What photos?" She pulled out her phone and showed me. There I was, sitting beside my mother in her room at Maplewood Care Home. Except it wasn't me. The man in the photo looked like me, had my build, my gray hair, even wore my blue plaid shirt. But something was off about the posture. The way he held his shoulders. When was this supposedly taken? March 15th. The day the will was changed according to the legal records. March 15th. I pulled up my own memories of that day. I'd been in St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto, recovering from my cardiac catheterization. They'd inserted a camera into my arteries to look for blockages. I'd been sedated, monitored, absolutely incapable of going anywhere. "Marina, I have hospital records. I was at St. Michael's that entire week, March 12th through March 19th. He claims the hospital records are falsified. He says you paid someone off." The audacity of it made me laugh, which immediately triggered chest pain. Marina reached for the call button, but I waved her off. "This is insane. Who else has he convinced?" "Dad, there are more photos and video footage from the care home's security cameras showing you visiting Mom multiple times during February and March when you were supposedly too sick to travel." My mind raced. Video footage? How was that possible? I need to see everything. Over the next hour, Marina showed me the evidence Vincent had compiled. There were bank withdrawal slips with my signature authorizing transfers from my mother's account to mine, totaling $175,000 over a 4-month period. There were emails from my email address to the estate lawyer, Kenneth Harper, discussing changes to the will. There were phone records showing calls from my cell number to the care home, to the lawyer, to my mother's financial advisor. And there were the photos, dozens of them, me sitting with my mother, me meeting with the lawyer, me at the bank. Except none of them were actually me. "The signatures look identical," Marina whispered. "How could someone forge them this perfectly?" I stared at one photo in particular. The man sitting beside my mother, holding her hand. He had the same age spots on his hands that I did. The same wedding ring I'd worn for 42 years before my wife Elizabeth passed. The same reading glasses. "This is professional," I said quietly. "This isn't some amateur impersonation. Someone studied me, watched me, learned my mannerisms. But why? Who would do this?" I didn't have an answer, but I knew I needed one fast, because Vincent's lawsuit was scheduled for a preliminary hearing in 6 weeks, and I was currently recovering from major surgery with strict orders not to experience any stress or physical exertion. The cardiologist had been clear. Another cardiac event within the next 3 months could be fatal. My heart was in a fragile state. The bypass surgery had been successful, but my recovery required absolute rest, medication compliance, and zero emotional strain. Fighting a legal battle while recovering from heart surgery was exactly what I couldn't do. But I had no choice. Marina hired a lawyer for me, Catherine Joe, from a firm specializing in estate litigation. She came to my hospital room on day 24 of my recovery, carrying a leather briefcase and a no-nonsense expression. "Mr. Sullivan, I've reviewed the evidence your brother has presented. I need to be frank with you. This case is extremely complex. The documentation appears authentic. The photos and videos are compelling. And your brother has 2 witnesses who claim they saw you at Maplewood Care Home on multiple occasions during the time frame in question. I was in the hospital. I believe you. But we need to prove it beyond any doubt. Hospital records can be challenged. We need corroborating evidence. Who visited you during your hospital stay in March?" I thought back. Marina came every day. My son Derek visited twice. Some friends from my church group came once. Anyone else? The hospital staff, obviously. Catherine made notes. "We'll need signed affidavits from all of them. We'll need your complete medical records, including nursing notes that document your physical condition hour by hour. We'll need to establish that you were physically incapable of leaving the hospital. I was sedated for 2 days after the catheterization. I couldn't walk unassisted for 5 days." "Good. We'll document that. But Mr. Sullivan, here's what concerns me most." She pulled out a document. "The lawyer who processed the will change, Kenneth Harper, has provided a sworn statement that you met with him in his office on March 15th. He identified you from a photo lineup. He remembers the meeting clearly because you discussed specific family dynamics and your concerns about Vincent's gambling problems." My blood ran cold. "Vincent has gambling problems?" "According to Harper's notes, you claimed your brother had a gambling addiction, and you didn't trust him to manage any inheritance responsibly. You wanted to protect the estate by leaving everything to yourself with the intention of creating a trust for Vincent's children." "I never said any of that. I didn't even know Vincent had gambling issues." "Well, he does. I pulled his financial records. He's $240,000 in debt, mostly from online gambling and casino visits. Filed for bankruptcy protection 2 years ago. Suddenly, a motive crystallized. Vincent needed money, desperately. But why frame me instead of just contesting the will legitimately? Because if you're convicted of elder abuse and financial exploitation," Catherine explained, "the will becomes invalid due to undue influence. The estate would revert to the previous will, which split everything 50-50 between you and Vincent. He'd get $340,000. But more importantly, if you're criminally charged, you could face jail time, and you'd be legally barred from any inheritance. Vincent could petition the court to award him the full estate based on your criminal conduct. This is about money. It's always about money, Mr. Sullivan. But I still don't understand how someone impersonated me this convincingly." Catherine leaned back. "That's what we need to find out, and I know someone who can help." 2 days later, a man in his mid-40s arrived at my hospital room. He introduced himself as James Erickson, former RCMP investigator now working as a private forensic analyst, specializing in identity fraud and digital manipulation. "Mr. Sullivan, I've worked cases involving everything from passport fraud to deepfake political videos. What you're describing fits a pattern I've seen before in high-stakes estate disputes." He pulled out a laptop and opened the photos Vincent had submitted as evidence. "Look here." He pointed to one image. "The lighting angle is consistent with professional photography, not a casual snapshot. And see this reflection in the window? That's a ring light. Someone staged this." He zoomed in on another photo. "This one shows micro inconsistencies in the skin texture around your face. It's subtle, but there's evidence of digital manipulation. Not a complete deepfake, but enhancement to make an impersonator look more convincing." "So, these photos are edited?" "Some are. Others appear to be actual photos of someone physically impersonating you. The question is, who?" James spent the next week diving deep into the evidence. He analyzed the metadata on the photos, traced the IP addresses of the emails sent from my account, and examined the video footage from Maplewood Care Home. "The care home videos are the smoking gun," he told me during his next visit. "They show a man who looks like you, but the gait analysis is all wrong. You had a knee replacement in 2019, correct? Right knee. January 2019. You walk with a slight favoring of your right leg. It's subtle but consistent. The man in these videos doesn't have that gait pattern. He walks normally, evenly. That's not you. Can that hold up in court?" "Absolutely. I can provide expert testimony on gait analysis. But there's more. I traced the emails supposedly sent from your account. They originated from an IP address in Mississauga. You were in Toronto at Street Michael's Hospital during that time. The IP geolocation alone proves someone else accessed your email. How did they get into my email? James looked uncomfortable. Mr. Sullivan, did you share your email password with anyone? No. I mean, my wife knew it before she passed, but that was years ago. Did you ever write it down? I hesitated. I keep a notebook with passwords in my desk drawer at home. Who has access to your home? Just me and my kids. And Vincent has a spare key for emergencies. The implication hung in the air. You think Vincent did this himself? I think Vincent had help. This level of impersonation requires resources. Professional makeup, possibly prosthetics, detailed knowledge of your mannerisms and medical history. Someone close to you provided that information. Over the next 2 weeks, James built a comprehensive forensic case. He obtained my complete hospital records, including nursing logs that documented my exact location and physical condition every hour of every day during March. He interviewed the hospital staff who remembered me. He even found a photograph time-stamped March 15th at 2:47 p.m. showing me asleep in my hospital bed with a nurse checking my vitals, the same time I was supposedly meeting with lawyer Kenneth Harper downtown. But the breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Marina called me late one evening, her voice shaking. Dad, I found something. Do you remember Uncle Vincent's old college roommate, Peter Kowalski? Vaguely. They lived together at Western University back in the 80s. Peter is a professional makeup artist. He works in film and television in Toronto. Special effects, prosthetics, aging makeup. The pieces clicked together. And I did some digging on social media. Peter posted photos from a special project he worked on in February and March. He didn't show details, but he tagged the location as Mississauga and mentioned working on aging effects and character transformation for a private client. Can James trace this? He's already on it. James moved fast. Within 3 days, he had obtained Peter Kowalski's financial records through legal subpoena. Peter had received $35,000 in payments from Vincent between January and April, categorized as consulting fees. More damning, James found photos on Peter's professional portfolio website showcasing his makeup work. One section featured before and after transformations, and there, buried in an archived gallery from March, was a photo of a makeup test. The subject was a man in his late 50s, early 60s. He was wearing prosthetic age spots, gray hair extensions, and colored contact lenses. He wore glasses identical to mine. The caption read, Character Aging Project, March 2025. James contacted Peter directly, posing as a potential client interested in similar transformation work. Peter, proud of his craftsmanship, explained his process, studying photos and videos of the target subject, creating custom prosthetics to match facial features, teaching the client how to mimic mannerisms and speech patterns. It takes about 6 weeks of preparation for a convincing transformation, Peter had said during their recorded phone call. But the results are incredible. My last client fooled even close family members. We had him, but there was still one missing piece. Who had physically impersonated me? The answer came from an unlikely source. One of the care home nurses at Maplewood, a woman named Patricia Nguyen, reached out to Catherine after seeing news coverage of the lawsuit. I need to tell you something, Patricia said during a meeting at Catherine's office. The man who visited Rose Sullivan during February and March, I always thought something was off about him. Off how? His voice. Mr. Sullivan has a slight rasp from years of smoking in his youth. The man who visited had a clearer voice, and he wore cologne. Strong cologne. Mr. Sullivan never wore cologne when he visited before his hospitalization. I remember because Rose always commented on how he smelled like the woods, like pine. This man smelled like expensive department store cologne. Did you mention this to anyone? I told the care home administrator, but she said family members can look and sound different when they're stressed. I didn't push it. James obtained the cologne detail and cross-referenced it with purchases made on Vincent's credit cards. In February, Vincent had purchased $300 worth of Tom Ford cologne from Holt Renfrew. But Vincent was in his 50s, shorter than me, with different facial features. He couldn't have pulled off the impersonation himself. The final piece fell into place when James ran a financial background check on Vincent's recent associations. Vincent had a business partner, Marcus Greenfield, age 62, who ran a struggling real estate investment company. Marcus was my height, my build, with gray hair, James obtained photos of Marcus. With the right prosthetics and makeup, he could absolutely pass for me. And Marcus had a motive. Vincent had promised him a $100,000 finder's fee once the estate was settled, documented in a text message exchange James uncovered. Catherine filed a motion to dismiss Vincent's lawsuit and presented our evidence to the Ontario Superior Court. The judge reviewed the forensic analysis, the hospital records, the gate comparison, the IP geolocation data, and the photographic evidence of Peter Kowalski's makeup work. On July 12th, Judge Miranda Walsh made her ruling. This court finds clear and convincing evidence of a deliberate conspiracy to commit identity fraud, elder abuse, and financial exploitation. The lawsuit filed by Vincent Sullivan is dismissed with prejudice. Furthermore, this court is referring this matter to the Ontario Provincial Police for criminal investigation. Vincent, Marcus, and Peter were all arrested within 48 hours. The investigation revealed the full scope of their plan. Vincent had convinced Marcus to impersonate me, promising him a share of the inheritance. Peter had provided the prosthetics and makeup training. Together, they had used my spare house key to access my password notebook, hired a hacker to access my email and phone accounts, created a detailed schedule of my hospital stay to know when I'd be incapacitated, impersonated me to lawyer Kenneth Harper, the care home staff, and my mother, forged my signature on bank documents, manipulated security camera footage, timestamps to create alibis. The most disturbing detail: they had drugged my mother with mild sedatives during the visits, so she wouldn't realize the man claiming to be her son was an imposter. Her dementia was advanced enough that she couldn't distinguish reality from confusion. In September, all three pled guilty as part of a plea bargain. Vincent received 4 years in federal prison for conspiracy to commit fraud and elder abuse. Marcus received 3 years. Peter received 2 years probation and community service, having cooperated with investigators. The estate was settled according to my mother's original will, the one she'd made years ago when she was of sound mind. It split everything 50-50 between Vincent and me. I donated my portion to the Alzheimer's Society of Ontario and a charity supporting cardiac care research. I'm 68 years old now, sitting in my daughter's living room in Ottawa. My recovery from the heart surgery took 8 months. I still can't believe how close I came to losing everything: my freedom, my reputation, my health, because of my brother's desperation and greed. I've learned some hard lessons from this nightmare. Let me share them with you, because these are things everyone should know. First, document everything. Keep detailed records of your whereabouts, especially during significant life events like illness or hospitalization. Those nursing logs that showed my exact location hour by hour saved me. Without them, I would have had no way to prove my innocence. In today's world where photos and videos can be manipulated, contemporaneous documentation from neutral third parties is your best defense. Second, protect your digital life like you protect your physical home. My brother accessed my email and phone because I wrote my passwords in a notebook and left them in an unlocked desk drawer. That one mistake nearly destroyed me. Use password managers, enable two-factor authentication, and never assume that just because someone is family, they won't betray you. Trust, but verify. Third, technology has made impersonation easier than ever before. Deepfakes, AI voice cloning, sophisticated makeup, and prosthetics, these aren't just tools for movies anymore. They're accessible to anyone with money and motivation. If you're involved in any situation where your identity could be questioned, estate disputes, custody battles, business conflicts, establish your physical presence through multiple independent sources. Security cameras, GPS data, credit card transactions, witness statements. The more proof points, the harder you are to impersonate. Fourth, when someone commits fraud against you, especially family, there's always a financial motive. Vincent didn't frame me out of hatred. He framed me because he was drowning in gambling debt and saw my inheritance as his only lifeline. If you're dealing with estate matters and you have family members with financial problems, be alert. Desperation makes people capable of things you'd never imagine. Fifth, gait analysis, voice patterns, handwriting, even the way you hold your shoulders. These are biometric markers that are incredibly difficult to fake convincingly. James Erickson's expertise in forensic analysis found inconsistencies in the impersonation that the average person would never notice. If you're falsely accused based on photos or videos, Demand expert forensic analysis. The truth is in the details. Sixth, elder abuse is often invisible. My mother was sedated during these fraudulent visits, so she couldn't recognize the imposter. If you have aging parents in care facilities, visit regularly and unexpectedly. Build relationships with the staff. Ask questions. Notice changes in your parents' behavior or medication. The care home staff had concerns about the different cologne but didn't escalate them. Small red flags can indicate larger problems. And finally, the most important lesson. The justice system works slowly, but it does work. There were moments during those 6 weeks before the hearing when I thought I'd lost everything. I was recovering from heart surgery, facing criminal charges, watching my reputation destroyed. But truth has weight. It takes time to gather evidence, to build a forensic case, to find the cracks in a false narrative. But if you're patient, if you're thorough, if you trust the process, the truth will tip the scales. My relationship with Vincent is over. I can't forgive what he did, but I understand why he did it. Gambling addiction destroyed his judgment. Debt destroyed his morality. He made catastrophic choices, and he's paying the price. I think about my mother often. She deserved better than to be manipulated in her final months, used as a pawn in her own son's scheme. I hope she didn't understand what was happening. I hope her dementia protected her from the betrayal. Marina asks me sometimes if I have regrets. And I do. I regret not being more vigilant about my passwords. I regret giving Vincent that spare key years ago when our relationship was different. I regret not noticing the signs of his gambling addiction earlier. But I don't regret fighting back. I don't regret trusting the evidence and trusting the people who helped me, Catherine, James, Patricia, the nurse who spoke up when something felt wrong. Because here's the truth. They don't tell you about being falsely accused. The process is designed to make you feel powerless. The evidence stacked against you feels insurmountable. The legal system feels slow and indifferent. Your own family turns against you. Your health suffers under the stress. But you have more power than you think. You have the power of truth, of evidence, of persistence. You have the power to say this is not who I am, and to prove it, one document at a time, one witness statement at a time, one forensic analysis at a time. The scales of justice are heavy. They don't tip quickly, but they do tip. You just have to be strong enough to hold on until the weight of truth tips them in your direction. And sometimes, that's the hardest part. Not proving you're innocent, just holding on long enough for the proof to matter.